Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Another Tuesday night with Abnormal Alabama, MyHaunted.com, and Miss Catherine Marie. We are here tonight for your benefit. Because this does us no good at all because you're not buying our dang books.
Yeah, buy the dang books.
But to gear up for a special weekend coming up, we're gonna, the three of us, you can get a selfie with all three of us. Can you imagine? And you can also buy some shirts, just like I'm wearing. And even, where's the collar? I know wasn't there a Bigfoot on this collar somewhere? No, not on that one.
It's on the other side. It's on your right arm.
Oh, here we go.
I got one of those.
Little bitty Bigfoot there. These will be on sale. Our books will be on sale. Kevin's got about 1,500 books.
Yep.
And he needs to sell them so he can retire next week.
That'll happen.
He's going to have some of his haunted dolls on display. I am going to be displaying some Radionics, Psionics wishing machines and giving some instruction on educating people on what these things are all about. So you don't want to miss that. And I'll also have a couple of interesting dolls on display. And maybe, unlike Kevin, I may have a couple for sale. Mm-hmm. Because unlike Kevin, I'm poor. Okay? You can tell I've lost a lot of weight because I can't afford to eat anymore.
Oh, he's a big spender.
So anyway, BJCC from 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. on Saturday, and then from 11 a.m. till 5 p.m. on Sunday. Join us. We three will be there on Saturday. I'll have to leave a little bit early for a wedding, and then Catherine will not be there on Sunday because she's got to film a wedding. So, but come Saturday morning, you can get a selfie with all three of us. So the show we're doing tonight is going to kind of lead into what we're going to be doing at this show, because we're going to talk about haunted dolls, which that's Kevin's forte right there. Haunted dolls. He loves dolls. He talks to them. He plays with them. He dresses them up. He cuddles with them. He sleeps with them. He travels with them. So he's a doll man.
He investigates them and he has them, and that's about it.
And he will walk up and he'll say, "Hey, doll."
Hey, doll.
He has a name for each one of his dolls. Anyway, I'll let him tell you his love affair with dolls this weekend. And he's going to introduce you to some haunted dolls during the first half of this show. Are you going to do any EVP stuff tonight, or just talk about dolls?
I got a little Kathy here. I was going.
Little Kathy.
Since we're doing the haunted doll thing,
little Kathy.
I would bring little.
How little is little Kathy?
Little Kathy.
And then the second half of the show, we're going to talk about Radionics, the wishing machine, and how you can get what you want. This is a book that will help you out in having your intentions come true. Look at those bags of money right there. I wrote this book, by the way. It's a small book, but it is well worth the read. So we're going to talk about that. Look at this. We're also going to talk about these kind of items. Do you know what these are right here? Do you know what those are?
Looks like crystallized crystal stuff. Prism.
It's orgone. Okay. And then we're going to go into Tesla a little bit, and we're going to talk about these purple plates. All right. And we're going to talk about vampire machines, Tepaphone, Teleforce, wishing machine, vampire machine. Omar's here early.
Yes, Hello,
Omar.
Hey, Omar.
Greetings from the big state of Alabama.
Jalapeno.
And Kevin and I and Catherine will be doing some TikToking and live streaming from BJCC, the Comic Con this weekend, where we will have a booth. So look for that. If you are too far away to come and we are not worth your effort to come and see, at least join us on the internet. Okay? Until then, we're going to get started. The first half, haunted dolls. Kevin's going to do a spirit box session with Kathy.
Yes. That is what I plan to do. Oh, he's letting me. How about it then? Yes, I'm going to be doing a session with one of my haunted dolls, Kathy, here in just a second. I was just finishing up sharing this stuff here.
We can't hear you.
Kevin. Yeah. Get that porn site off your computer. We can see the reflection in your glasses there.
What porn site? That's Facebook. Is Facebook a porn site? I was sharing our stuff here. Are we porno here?
Yeah, Kevin has no sense of humor, so forgive him. But he does have a very evil laugh.
Yes, I do. All right, I'm just sharing this everywhere.
Okay, while he's doing that, wishing machine. Catherine, go get a wishing machine to show him the wish. Oh, wait a minute. I got here. I did a lot of loads here. So let's see. Which one do I want to? Here we go. So what is your wish? Do you have a wish? I am the wish doctor. We can make your wishes come true. So that's a preview of kind of, hello there, Playful Rain. Omar's with us early tonight. I'm glad you joined us, Omar and Playful Rain. We split in the show into two parts tonight because we got a big show. We're going to be in person at BJCC this weekend, 2 full days. And that's Kathy on the screen right there. That's Kathy. Say hi, Kathy. And we're going to find out if Kathy will talk to us. So until then, I'm going to back out of here. Playful Rain, and we'll get rid of your little message. So we said hello, okay, Playful.
Hello, Playful Rain.
Hello.
And I'm going to back out, and we're going to let Kevin do his spirit box session.
You want to back me out too, so I can hear Kevin?
Little Miss Kathy.
All right, there we go. All right. So we are going to talk about little Kathy here. Now, I guess we'll have to tell her story because she's got a pretty big story here. She comes all the way from Arizona, from the Arizona Paranormal Society. And she was once a little dancing doll. She had a little switch back here you can turn on. And she danced for a little while when I had her, but then she stopped working. So according to the paranormal team, they said she never did work. But for a little while, she did dances for me, I guess, because she was happy. I hope she's still haunted. I hope she didn't.
They just got the doll confused with Kevin because he's the one that never did work.
You know that. So yeah, this doll lived in a very seriously haunted house in Arizona that the Arizona Paranormal Team investigated. They would not give out the exact location. It was sort of a Amityville Conjuring House kind of situation going on where it got so intense the family fled and left their things behind. And this doll was left behind, and they said she would often move around on her own. And there's a little girl, a good spirit named Kathy. But it seemed like there was a battle going on in that house between good and evil spirits. And Kathy was one of the good ones trying to protect the kids there. and they said she kind of attached herself to this doll. I have gotten EVPs from her before. I know she's very, very much a joker. One of the investigators in Arizona took her home with him, and he said that he set her down on the table, left her there, and his keys were over on the counter. He came in the next day, and the keys had disappeared. So he could not even get in his car. He had to call one of his teammates to come drive him. When he gets back home later that evening, the keys are back on the counter where he had left them. Now, since I've had little Kathy, I've had things disappear and they'll just vanish for a couple of days sometimes. Maybe just same day or a couple of days later, it'll show up somewhere else. And I know I didn't move it. Nobody else moved it. So I wonder if that was little Kathy playing her little mischievous jokes. But she is a good spirit. And I bet she's happy she's out of that house in Arizona, but we're going to find out here because I'm going to do a little EVP spirit box with the necrophonic. And we have Kathy. We have I think this is a new toy. I don't think you've seen this yet. The REM pod. See that skeleton's eyes light up? Oh, wait a minute. He's lighting up on his own. Are you touching it? No, there we go. All right. So, Kathy, all you do is touch that rod there. I've already got this cat ball set up. I think you used to like playing with that. And I hope you're still here with us, little Kathy. And if you are, be sure to let me know. Make your presence known here. I'm going to go ahead and start up the necrophonic. Kathy, are you are you still here, Kathy? Yeah, hey Kathy, I just heard you. Yeah, you're still here. Good. Are you still playing around and having fun? Yeah, oh, she's here. She's talking. Is that you that likes to hide stuff sometimes? I heard a little giggle. Did you make somebody's keys disappear one time? Yeah. Hey. How old are you, Kathy? 5. Now, one person thought they had seen you before, your spirit, and they said that your legs, you had a problem with your legs when you were alive. Is that true? And they thought maybe that's why your doll was dancing so happy, because they said you're able to dance now like you couldn't do before. Are you running and playing? Yeah, that's good. I want you to. Oh, there's that whiny voice again. Kathy, do you like this house we've been living in, this new house? I heard a whispered no, but I don't think that was her. Kathy, do you like it here with this big old yard? No. Uh-oh. Why don't you like it? Is there something specific you don't like about it? Do you ever go outside and run and play? I bet I know what it do. Do you miss the horsey? Do you miss that big white horsey that used to be out there? Yeah, I kind of miss that horse sometimes too, but he didn't belong to us. His mama had to take him to a different. His owner had to take him to a different place to live. Do you want to play with some of these toys here? Will that make you feel better? You can tap the ball. Or here, play with the bell. You can make that ding. Or you can touch the wire on that skull, make his eyes go funny. Here it goes. Y'all hear the K2 meters going off? Thank you, Kathy. Was that you? Was that you, Kathy? I heard a man's voice say fools. Who are you calling fools? Kathy, are there other spirits with you? Can you touch this again and make the skull light up? Sounds like somebody sneezed on the spirit box. Your doll is adorable, Kathy. Did she belong to you when you were alive? A voice just said Ouija. I wonder if it's reading the top of the skull here. How many spirits are here? Tell me your name, please. Kathy, are you still here? Is there anything you'd like to tell us, Kathy? I bet you're happy to be out of that evil house in Arizona, aren't you? Did you live in that house in Arizona? Did you help protect the family from those nasty spirits? Hey. Was it really bad in that house in Arizona? How bad was it? I mean, if you feel comfortable talking about it, I don't want to bring up bad memories for you. My house has got to be better than that house, isn't it? Sure. I hear some prankster ghost on there trying to answer for you. Kathy, are you happy here? Why did your doll stop dancing? Did I leave the batteries in too long? I'd sure love for you to play it with one of these items again. I want to play with the cat ball and make it light up real pretty. Well, go ahead. It's right there. Or you can ring the bell. Can you ring the bell for me? Or how about try that? How about try the skull again? You want to play with that and make his eyes go funny like that? What's your last name, Kathy? Did you say Walton? Is your name Kathy Walton? Is there anything you want to tell us? We got just a little bit of time left. No. Did I tire you out already? It takes a lot of energy for a little girl to do the stuff you've done. You already lit that skull up. That was pretty awesome. I hope the folks that... Yeah, we... She said we... I hope the folks at home got to hear that or see his eye light up. Do you want to try to play it one more time? Touch that skull? Or one? All right, last chance. Anything you want to say before we start? All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. I appreciate you talking to me. Okay. She's so cute. She said, Kay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. If there's any spirits who don't belong, be sure to back away. One from 5. And I'm going to turn this off. So if you don't belong, go back to where you came from, and all spirits back away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Get your face over there in the camera.
Did y'all see that K2 go off by itself?
I did.
I heard a bunch of words too.
Did you hear the beeping it does is so faint. I don't know if you could hear the beep beep beep, beep on there.
So tell us what you're going to bring with you this weekend.
I'm gonna bring Haunted Dolls Tammy and Robin because they used to be so popular. When I used to go to Memphis, they were very popular.
You're not gonna bring Patty Doll?
I used to. I would bring her, but her back leg is cracked, so I stopped taking her around a lot because I don't want it to break.
So keep in mind, folks, Kevin does not sell his dolls.
No.
He will show them to you. If you're nice, he might let you take a selfie with one of them.
Yeah.
Okay. But you also loaded some pictures of some other well-known haunted dolls. You want to talk about those?
Yeah. I tried to get some that were a little obscure, even though I did include Robert in there because I kind of like his story. I know how much you love Annabelle here, as seen here in this picture with me, but I know.
And now that you mentioned that, I've got my version of a Annabelle type display thing that I'll be bringing, and it might be for sale.
What?
Never know. Everything's got a price.
You're not talking about Sweet Caroline, though, are you? Talking about a different
No.
one.
I need Catherine to straighten her out a little bit because she was moved from the office into storage for a minute, like you did your dolls.
Yeah.
And now I can't get Catherine to focus in and get her going again.
Like I have nothing to do.
No,
she has
you're
nothing
just sitting
to
there
do.
now. Jesus. All right. So Kevin's going to talk about some other dolls, and he's got plenty of stories. And how many books? How many different titles of books are you bringing to sell?
Well, I know copies of the new book, the brand new book. I got to bring that. I'm going to bring, in fact, I'll bring a couple of hardbound copies, but definitely I got a bunch of paperback copies of this Dark Awakening. And then I'll bring both of the My Haunted Doll or My Haunted Collection books. I'll bring those.
Okay.
I got others in there. I'll probably stick out there too. I got my supernatural novels. I should have copies of every dang book I've written out there in my car. So
Every dang book.
but I probably just display the more prominent ones that
You gotta watch out for them dang books.
them dang books. All right. So what doll should I tell about first? Should I tell about my own creepy, scary doll, or should I talk
It's
about?
totally up to your discretion.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
I don't know if anybody knows. Of course, it was pretty fun meeting the lovely Annabelle last Halloween
Annabelle,
in Connecticut. But some of y'all may not know I have my own Annabelle type doll here. And mine, I know people are skeptical about the real Annabelle, but my doll is indeed a very frightening piece of work. And she looks very pretty and innocent. But I will not. I'm not taking her out of this house. I'm not taking her out of that case I got her sealed in.
What?
And I'm not. I do not want to give her any attention like spirit box sessions because
What?
I don't want to encourage this little. I'm going to say this little bitch. But
I was going to be nice and say this little demon.
Keep in mind that Kevin does claim to be a righteous man. Kevin's the type of guy. I love Kevin to death, but he's the reason I quit going to church.
Oh, that's bull. He stopped going long before I came around. He got tired of being around them perverted road guys, whatever they are. All those y'all call them priests or something.
Oh, yeah. Some of your buddies.
Oh, not mine. Mine. Although I've come across some pastors that have been promiscuous, and they graciously stepped down when they started practicing that.
Oh man, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever.
We have a Kayla Ray that's joined us this evening.
Yeah, somebody had commented. I don't know if they were tagging a Kayla Ray or if they're saying their name is Kayla Ray or Kyla.
They were on Facebook and they were tagging. I think that is maybe her husband or something that said, "Hey, you want to watch this?"
Oh, okay.
You know how they tag people, yeah.
I'm going to share this story then about my own scary doll that I call Dolly Not So Dearest, although her alleged name is Lori. And here is her picture.
Oh, I love that outfit.
See how beautiful and innocent and precious she looks.
I bet she's anything but.
Let me tell about this.
Tell it. Tell it on the mountain.
There's the story. A client of mine, who I will call Vivian,
that's not a real name.
Took an interest in haunted dolls after seeing several listings for such items on eBay. And I always warn people about eBay and Etsy. You got to be careful. She performed a haunted doll.
Why you got to be careful? Why?
Because some people may not be exactly honest about what they're selling you.
Talking about unscrupulous people?
Unscrupulous people. Perform a haunted...
People without scruples.
Perform a haunted doll search on such a site, and one will find many listings for dolls, paintings, and other items alleged to be haunted by a ghost or two. The problem, aside from there being some sellers who are being dishonest in order to make a fast buck, is that sometimes an item alleged to be haunted may not be haunted by something positive. Vivian, whose curiosity took place before she and I crossed paths, would find this out soon enough. Vivian was a fan of the paranormal, particularly ghosts. She had a keen interest in finding a way to have her own spooky experience, perhaps even inviting a spirit to live with her in her house. Her first thought to accomplish this was purchasing a haunted doll, for she possessed a love of dolls as well. While scoping out the many listings of beautiful yet haunted dolls listed for sale at the time, She came across a listing for one said to have a spirit named Lori attached to it. Let's see. The doll looked like something out of the Gone with the Wind movie with its lovely green velvet antebellum dress and coat, the matching hat, ginger locks of hair, and bright sparkling eyes, as you see there in the photo. So angelically beautiful and captivating was the doll that Vivian found it difficult not to adopt her. The spirit, Lori, was said to be that of a young woman in her early 20s who lived back during the antebellum times in America. She was a pleasant spirit with a sweet personality, was caring and very protective of her owner. Lori had passed away at a young age due to an unknown illness, one of many that probably ran rampant through the country during that time. The seller described Lori as being more like a guardian angel than a spirit. She said the spirit brought peace and harmony into the household and even good luck. Some of the claimed ghostly experiences with the doll were footsteps, objects sometimes moving around, and a woman's voice heard speaking from the seller's spirit box when she attempted to investigate it. By all accounts, this ghost was a human spirit, and a pleasant one at that. With such an angelic-looking doll and such a positive story attached to it, what could go wrong? Vivian thought to herself. She immediately put in to purchase the doll. The listing was a buy it now, so she did not even have to wait and bid. The doll was shipped rather quickly to Vivian, and she received it at her Baton Rouge, Louisiana home within a few days. She excitedly opened the box and pulled Lori out for a look. The doll seemed almost to smile at her. Absolutely nothing felt wrong about it. Vivian found a place in her living room for the doll and put her on display, eager to see what would happen and if she'd experience any of the ghostly occurrences for herself. Unfortunately, what she was about to experience was far from what the doll's prior owner described. A week passed with nothing happening in Vivian's home. The only other occupant of the house was her roommate, Anna, who was skeptical and not at all interested in the paranormal. Vivian and her roommate were good friends and had lived together for at least a few years in the home. Prior to obtaining this doll, they'd never experienced anything strange. So, eager to see something happen with the doll, Vivian started to feel a little bit disappointed. Early one morning, about 2 weeks after the doll's arrival, Vivian awoke to a sensation running down her right arm. Her pajamas consisted of a sleeveless t-shirt and shorts. She slept on her left side with her right arm and shoulder exposed above the covers. It felt as though something had taken 4 needles and dragged them along from her shoulder down to her forearm. Sitting up in bed, her eyes adjusting to the daylight that poured through her window curtains, she turned her head to the right to look down at her arm. On the surface of the flesh of her right arm were 4 vertical scratches running from the top of her arm down to her elbow. Judging by the dry blood dotting each scratch, it appeared they happened at some point during the night while she slept. A cry from the hallway reached her ears. The sound came from the bedroom of her roommate. Springing up from the bed, she hurried down the hallway to Anna's bedside. My K2 meter just went off. There she found Anna sitting on the edge of the bed with her hand holding her right arm. The breath caught in Vivian's throat as she slowly approached Anna and looked at her arm. Anna took her hand away to show Vivian what she'd found on her arm when she woke up. There, going from the top of her right arm to the elbow, were the exact same 4 scratches. Vivian showed her arm to Anna, and both women stared at each other slack-jawed. There were no pets living in their home, and the doors and windows of their apartment were locked tight. Both women came up empty as to an explanation for how the scratches occurred. A few more nights passed with no occurrence. Then on the third morning after the scratches, Vivian awoke to a stinging sensation, this time on her left leg. Sitting up and throwing back the covers, she found 4 claw marks running down her leg. Dried blood bubbled along each mark. The scratches ran perfectly vertical alongside each other, as if, once again, someone or something had dug long fingernails into her flesh and dragged them along for 5 or 6 inches. When she got out of bed to check on Anna, she found her in the hallway bathroom with her left foot propped up on the toilet lid and her housecoat tail lifted to her left knee, and as she inspected her own leg, the same scratches ran down the same exact area of her leg. Anna looked at Vivian and frowned. "Don't tell me it happened to you too." Vivian nodded and showed her own newly acquired scratch marks. The similarities were beyond sinister. Vivian now wondered if something else clung to the doll she had invited into her home. Something not nice, not like the seller described. The next night, the violent nightmares began. When speaking of these nightmares, Vivian described them as like nothing she'd ever dreamed before in her entire life. In the first one, she found herself walking through their house in almost solid blackness, save for a few slits of lights that came through the windows. The temperature felt ice cold, and she wrapped her arms around her shoulders, rubbing them to try to stay warm. Inside their living room, she flipped the switch for the lights, but nothing happened. She went from one room to the next, trying the light switches and lamps, but nothing worked. Suddenly, she felt like she was being watched. Somewhere inside the house, a snarl emitted from the darkness. Vivian felt the sudden urge to run to her bedroom. When she reached it, she dove for the bed and crawled under the covers, cocooning herself within. After a few moments passed, Vivian lowered the covers from her eyes and looked toward the doorway. Standing in the doorframe was what she could only describe as a misshapen humanoid creature. Its head was slanted at an unnatural angle, and the arms hung awkwardly down to its sides, but no hands were attached. It held no features, not even a face, but appeared completely black like a shadow. A snarl erupted from the thing and into her bedroom, causing the walls to vibrate around her. Vivian woke up from the nightmare sitting straight up in bed, sweat pouring down her face and neck. It was morning and sunlight pilfered the room. No creatures appeared before her and no snarls vibrated the room. Only the silence of the house and the chirping of the birds from outside reached her ears. Though the creature vanished with the daylight, it was far from gone. Over the next several nights, Vivian experienced even more nightmarish images in her sleep. In one dream, she found herself inside a slaughterhouse. The light inside was dim, but she still saw dried blood running down the walls on all sides. The smell of rotten meat filled her nostrils. Screams like that of a wounded animal drifted around her, yet she saw no sign of life within the large room or any source for the noise. As she spun in a circle around the room looking for a way out, she spotted the same dark, misshapen mass standing not too far behind her. It looked at least 8 feet tall and towered over her, its arms outstretched. She realized to her horror that the screams were coming from within the body of this creature. It rushed at her, and she awoke again in her bed in a cold sweat. In other dreams, she visualized people being murdered, creatures devouring flesh, and other similar grotesque images. Each time she awoke in that same cold sweat. And every time, though she found herself alone in her room, she did not feel she was really alone. Even in daylight, she always felt like something was watching her wherever she went. She sat down with her roommate and discussed her nightmares and feelings. Much to her surprise, her roommate described having the exact same nightmares and the same feeling of being watched. Something seemed to want badly to terrorize both women, and all of it seemed to start with Lori entering the home. The final straw occurred one morning when Vivian awoke in her bed once again from a terrible nightmare. She dreamed that a faceless attacker, what appeared to be a large man with no face, was pinning her to the ground, his fingers around her neck and squeezing tightly, trying to strangle her. When she awoke, much to her horror, she still felt the fingers held tightly around her throat. Though she saw nothing there, she felt an invisible presence pinning her down to the mattress, its icy, invisible fingers squeezing her throat hard. She struggled to breathe, her face wincing in pain. In her mind, a memory flashed from when she was a child and went to church with her parents. She remembered learning about angels and demons and how prayer held power enough to fight off the devil and any of his minions. Instantly, she began praying over and over in her mind for God in the name of Christ to cast away this being. She kept silently chanting the name of Jesus over and over. As she did, the fingers loosened and the weight on her body felt lighter and lighter. Eventually, the fingers and weight disappeared all at once, and she sat up in bed and caught her breath. A burning sensation crawled across the skin of her throat as if something hot had touched it just moments ago. She got up, walked over to the mirror above her dresser, and studied her reflection. On her neck were red marks in the shape of large fingers. The marks remained throughout the morning, but then faded away before the day ended. One of Vivian's close friends heard about my Facebook page, My Haunted Dolls, and my work with haunted items. She recommended me to Vivian for contact to seek help with ridding her home of the problem. She messaged the link from my page to Vivian, and Vivian immediately clicked on it and messaged me. When I read her story, something about her message told me she was genuinely scared. I did not feel this was just some crazy person seeking attention, especially since all she wanted to do was just ship the doll to me. She did not want anything from me. She just wanted to rid herself of this doll, and she was adamant about this in her message. So instead of reading, I can go ahead and tell the rest of this. So I had a look at that doll, and it felt strange to me when I saw this picture here. So I agreed with her, if you want to go ahead and ship it, especially since she didn't want anything back from me. I mean, most people want they want something in return, like they'll want a ton of money or something, and that makes me feel like, well, that's probably just them trying to make a buck, and it's not really haunted. But in this case, this woman seemed very genuine, and as soon as I gave her my address to ship it to, it wasn't a day or two later that sucker showed up on my doorstep in a FedEx box. And it was funny, well, not funny, it was freaky that I was off that day. I guess I'd taken off work for some reason, and I was relaxing on the sofa with my cat, and I started feeling nauseous all of a sudden. And right then, I heard a large vehicle pull up in front of my house. It sounded like when, UPS arrives. And lo and behold, I go to the door and I find the box there from this lady in Baton Rouge, and my nausea increased. When I picked up the box and brought it in, I felt very uneasy. My cat is normally very, very nosy when it comes to my packages. She always, when I put it on the counter, she'll hop up on the counter next to it and go sniffing it out. She'll watch me open it, and she'll climb up there and want to look inside the box with me. When I brought this box in, she took off running and hid in my bedroom and would not leave my bedroom. And so I'm sitting there open this box and I pull out this doll, Lori, and just right away I'm like, yeah, there's something wrong with this. I mean, I felt nauseous. I was getting the shakes. I said, yeah, there's something nasty here. I had already prepared for her. I had a case I'd bought, a plastic doll case that I could seal up. I put her doll on the kitchen table. I put on my blessed crucifix that I got, and these blessed medallions I'd received from a demonologist I met several years ago. And I got out the holy water and I started splashing this doll and praying in the name of Christ to cast this thing out, to bless the woman it came from and her roommate, to bless anybody who'd come into contact with this thing. Cast this thing out in the name of Christ. And I'm just, as I'm doing all this and slinging the holy water, I feel the crucifix, the rope it's tied around. Granted, it's a little thin rope, but I felt it getting pulled. And all of a sudden, the rope snapped, and that crucifix fell on the floor. It felt like something yanked it. And, my automatic response was to go, oh, but I just a blessing from God. The words I'd learned from another paranormal investigator years before echoed in my head. Don't show it fear because it feeds off that. So I said, I'm not going to show it fear. I bent down, I picked up that crucifix and I put it on the doll and I kept praying and slinging that water. And I did this until I started feeling the nausea go away. The environment around me sort of felt lighter. And then the cream of the crop, the cherry on top, was when my cat finally ventured back into the kitchen from out of hiding, and she was happy again. So I put the doll in the case, threw in some extra holy water on it, sealed it up, covered that thing with holy water, and she's been kept there ever since on the top shelf, the highest shelf I can find in my house. One time I had my paranormal team, Scare of Alabama, visit my house. I used to invite them over at least once a year to come hang out and see my haunted items. And one of the team members, the last one I would have expected, this big dude, he's husky, and he's in the room where the Lori doll is, and he sees her and he just becomes entranced. I noticed he was just staring at her. And he turned around to me as I was talking to a couple of the other investigators, and he had this wide-eyed look on his face, like desperation. And he starts begging me, please let me take this doll home with me. You got to let me take her home with me. Now, this guy hates dolls. He has said over and over again, he's always told me, you can have them. I don't want anything to do with dolls. Yet here he is all of a sudden wanting this doll. And he starts pleading with me, and his eyes start glazing over. And I said, you know what? You need to step away from that doll and leave the room. I said, I think she's having an effect on you, and trust me, you don't want her climbing into your head. So, I gave her a dirty look, and I'm sure every night I've gotten to where I just say a blessing to bless these items anyway. But I took him out. When he got outside the room, he was fine. He didn't mention her again. It was like it never happened. But she wanted out of that case. And after a while, I think that was only 2 or 3 months after I had blessed her, she was wanting out of that case. But eventually, she got quiet, and I haven't heard anything out of her in a long time, which is good. But I still refuse to take her out of that case, to give her any attention. That's why I don't bring her on here to do any spirit box, because I'm not going to give her any attention. She needs to stay right where she is. And go ahead and get the picture.
Bring her this weekend.
I ain't taking her to that.
I have an opening this weekend.
I'm not taking her to that big old convention hall where she can possess everybody there, and then there's going to be some violent thing happen.
That'd be so fun.
And then we'll be on TV, and then
that's what you want. Sell more books.
Not in that capacity.
Oh yeah.
They'll be running me up the river along with all the pro-gun people. Oh Lord, that's that crazy haunted dog guy. He did it. He's evil.
Woman. Well, he's been talking about haunted dogs, of course, that's his favorite subject. And this weekend at BJCC at the Comic Con, our dear friend Kevin Kane is going to have some of his dolls on display, not for sale.
Nope, nope, nope.
Don't even try to steal one, or he will put a curse on you with his voodoo doll. He'll stab you with those pins.
How about I just let Lori pay you a visit, maybe?
And he does love to talk about these stories, as you've noticed. So he might even tell you a story while you're there, but you can at least buy some of his books. How's that?
Yeah. And I might bring little Kathy with me. She hadn't been out in a while, and she's tiny. She can.
Teeny tiny Kathy.
She's a little petite, and she
All
doesn't
right.
hurt anybody. She's a good spirit.
I'll give you about 6 more minutes to talk about your stuff.
My stuff.
Your stuff.
Well, let's see here. I'm going to have some of my stuff with me over the weekend. MyHauntedDolls.com. That's my website. Bye. And I've got all my books out there in the store. The story I was just telling you is from that book there. There's Lori on the cover. My Haunted Collection, The Dark Side.
Mm.
And of course, the original My Haunted Collection, which is about some of the nicer spirits that I originally collected.
Yeah, the kind that favor me.
And some of my supernatural novels, like Crimson the Blood Painting, and
that catch you.
Patty Doll, Tammy Baby. In fact, I'll have Tammy with me right there with her books. And the newest book, Dark Awakening and Other Tales for a Midnight Hour. I'll have a couple of hardbound copies while they last, but I'll have paperback as well. But you can always go on myhaunted.com anytime and buy autographed copies. They're on Kindle, they're on Amazon, Books A Million. Some of them are on Barnes & Noble, although B&N's got a little stingy about what they carry here lately.
Okay.
My books. So that's my stuff. And now, did you want me to tell about some more of these haunted dolls, or you want to do some plug-in, or what you want to do?
I got the last half of the show. You still got 5 minutes. Don't waste it.
Oh, I thought you were. Oh, well, dang.
No, I ain't putting you on. I'm trying to be fair.
You gonna hog the rest of the show? I better tell about some
I
creepy
ain't gonna
dolls.
hog nothing. I let you just go on and 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 on. Get going on and on.
Out here, okay. We better hush.
Is that your family?
Is that my what?
Your familia.
No, this is the doll that aged. Where is his story at here? Because I want to read this book. And these are. I'll do the short versions of these.
Keep in mind, folks, that it is a story.
That's a doll?
Yeah, this is a doll that started out a cute doll, and he turned into this. Let me read the story here. When dolls age, they tend to look quite creepy. Hair falls out, color fades, cracks appear, and at times the eyes go missing. It is a natural process that comes with time and neglect. But this doll is different. It has aged like a person does, though much more rapidly, and many believe it to be haunted. Objects age, that's simply a fact. They crack, they peel, they get dusty, they degrade. This being known, there are still many who believe that the way this particular doll has aged is something infinitely creepy, something maybe even paranormal. The family in question has never been named due to wanting anonymity, but the story is simple enough. They were an average couple who had children, and one birthday or Christmas, they bought their young daughter a regular run-of-the-mill doll. The doll was loved by the young girl, but as with most toys and children's possessions, the doll was largely forgotten as the daughter outgrew it. Eventually, the children moved out of home, and the parents, rather than throw the toys and memories away, decided to store them in the attic. Although the doll had been well played with, it was still in rather good condition when it was placed in a box and forgotten about. 11 years later, the family were having a clean out of the attic when they stumbled across a rather odd-looking doll. As seen in this picture, the doll was wrinkled, aged, like that of a very old person. The arms were stiff and mummified, wrinkles running along their length. It was when they recognized the clothing and other items in the box that their blood ran cold. It was their daughter's doll. Once a baby face, it had now aged. Incredibly, it had aged in such much the same way a human does. The wrinkles were all in the right areas, but it was the eyes that were most haunting. Once those of a doll's, they now looked human. Looking in them one could almost detect a presence, maybe a spirit. The family got rid of the doll, and the new owner soon parted ways with it to a new owner. It is not known where the doll is today or even what it looks like. There's a bit of debate as to how the doll aged. A few people, doll collectors and the like, say that the plastic or organic material had degraded, like a kind of a rot. However, many counter those claims with the fact that doll rot generally leaves a doll cracked, brittle, but not wrinkled like this. Those who take the paranormal stance in regards to this curiosity believe it possibly has an attachment. Maybe some entity has taken up residence from the doll, possibly way back when the daughter would still play with it. Or maybe there is someone out there retaining their youth and beauty well past their best before date, as the doll bears the burden of age like the picture of Dorian Gray. Of course, that's just a joke, but either way, it is a creepy looking doll and an interesting story. So, what do you think? Is it doll rot? Is it haunted? Or something else entirely?
It's a real miniature person.
A real miniature person mummified.
A midget.
It reminded me of those little dolls that we used to make as kids out of apples.
Yeah, yeah, I've got one of those.
Dolls.
I've got one of those. And there's another one here I'll tell about real quick. Charlie, the haunted doll.
Oh, he's not gonna let me talk. He knows he's just taking over the hotel.
Oh, I was gonna do this one right quick, and then you just whatever. Now where's Charlie? There he is. That's Charlie. Charlie, the haunted doll. Charlie was first discovered in the attic of an old Victorian home in upstate New York in 1968. Charlie was locked away inside a trunk with newspapers dating back to the 1930s and a yellowed piece of paper that had the Lord's Prayer written on it. The family placed the figurine on display with their other dolls and toys. Soon, however, Charlie seemed to move on its own, swapping places with the other toys. Not long thereafter, the family's youngest daughter claimed that Charlie spoke to her in the middle of the night. The parents dismissed the claim, chalking it up to their daughter's overactive imagination, but the little girl and her siblings were terrified of Charlie. They refused to go near it, and when mysterious scratches appeared on the little girl's body, the family decided to take Charlie back up in the attic trunk. Charlie now resides at Local Artisan, a Beverly, Massachusetts oddity shop just minutes away from Salem, so you can swing by and say hello if you dare. And that's the end of that story. So now you can go ahead and talk, and then I got more later if you need it. But look at it.
Catherine, did you get one of the wishing machines?
No, you said you had one.
No, I did not. I played a video.
Yeah, well, I will go get
We're
one.
going to talk about wishing machines. We're going to talk about Radionics. We're going to mention the purple plate.
Yeah,
We're going to
I can take
mention
a nap
the
while you do that.
organ pyramids. And we're going to talk about getting what you want.
Oh, it's going to be an infomercial for the
He
next
wants
hour.
demonic possessed dolls. Send them to Kevin Kane.
He's going to do an infomercial for the next hour.
It's not infomercial. It is an infomercial. You
That
get
guy
it.
that used to wear that money covered
So
suit.
listen up. Listen up. Imagine yourself getting up, going to your car, ready to drive to work. Not Kevin don't have to do that because he works from home. You get up early, you get dressed, go out to the vehicle, you open the door, put the key in the ignition, but it has no gas. It does not start. It has no energy, so it can't move. It doesn't matter how much you thought about the idea of going to work to do your job. All the arrangements, the preparation, your willingness just was not enough. A basic and essential element is missing: the power to transport you and your vehicle to your destination. I am using this analogies, and I'm going to lead into, I'm explaining what radionics is, the wishing machine, and give and best understanding I can if she don't tear up my wishing machine.
I'm not. It's not finished.
Okay. So anyway,
Bought it.
she's kind of showing one over there. um, so a basic and essential element is missing: the power, the energy. You've got to have this energy. This same principle applies to visualization. The power of your mind to be completely amazing, but it needs fuel. What is that fuel? The energy produced by emotion. It's a powerful force. We all know the difference between a motivated person from one who is not motivated. The first one shows radiant, the other seems dull. A positive emotion generates a visible energy that you can feel. We're talking about special vibrations. When I was younger, back in the 60s, we were talking about good vibrations. There was even a song about good vibrations. Do you vibe? Do you feel the vibe? So if you want your thoughts to be powerful enough to build and materialize, you need to generate emotion and get excited about them. You feel them as real and reachable. And you notice how the energy moves through your body when you meditate about them. That energy would feed an imaginary construction and rocketing them into the physical world. Now, let me give you another example here as to what we're talking about. You may have heard of Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest men in the world. So, someone actually bid and paid $2.3 million just to have lunch with Warren Buffett. The highest price that was ever paid for such a power lunch was $3.5 million by an anonymous bidder back in 2012. Every year, people bid and pay to eat dinner with a wealthy and famous person. From Bill Gates to well-known politicians, it does happen. It's real. In other arenas, people clamor to get an autograph or a selfie. Kevin gets autographs, and he's excited about it. He posts them on social media. You can feel the energy that he radiates from getting this. Sometimes he's able to get a selfie with a famous entertainer. Some people like to get pictures with athletes or anyone of notoriety. What exactly do these people expect to gain from their expense of paying to eat with one of these people? Are the efforts they put into getting an autograph or having a picture taken with this well-known person or that one? Certainly Bill Gates or Warren Buffett, neither one can divulge their vast wisdom over a short dinner or lunch. That rock star or movie star has nothing of value to offer in that few short seconds of smiling in a selfie photograph, nor are they able to transfer any success energy via their signature on an 8x10 glossy photograph. Or can they? Have you ever felt the electricity around such? I have, just from being around Kevin when he orders and gets an autographed picture, even though he is in 20, 30 miles from where I live. And he posts this on social media. I'm not looking at the real picture and I'm not sitting with Kevin, but the energy he radiates from the excitement he gets is real, and you can feel it from this distance. Have you ever experienced that? Have you felt the energy from someone who's telling of their brief encounter with this famous person or that one, or even the sharing of that autograph? of this well-known figure that signed on a picture and even inscribed the recipient's name on it. Even though it was not you that had the experience, you were able to feed off of that energy being shared by the person that did have lunch with Bill Gates or took a random selfie with Lady Gaga. And that person who had that dinner with Buffett went on to spread that energy that they gained from that brief dinner with countless others by sharing the experience on podcasts, TV shows, sometimes even in books and articles. Energy. This is what radionics is about. This is why I call this the law of attraction on steroids. The fact is, we're talking about the transference of energy. People pay and endure long lines to get into a concert, to be in the same room with this entertainer, not even having a conversation with or getting close to this person of fame, just being in the same room. And they gain vast amounts of energy from it. Of course, it affects some in ways that does not affect others. Some would go to great lengths for that dinner with Bill Gates or even pay just to hear him speak from a stage. Others would get their energy from sitting in the nosebleed section of a Pink concert. In both cases, the attendee walks away revitalized, filled with excitement and wide awake. Again, it was simply a transference of energy. But where did Bill Gates get that energy that he transferred so easily to his companion at dinner? From what source did Lady Gaga get her energy from? The vast majority of people that encounter a certain problem spend an extraordinary amount of time mentally representing the difficult situation that afflicts them. They put effort into their lives. Let me give you another example. Since I'm talking about some entertainers here, like Lady Gaga, Pink, and whatnot, you don't realize all the songs that you've heard and listened to on the radio throughout your life, how many of those songs just flowed from the writer in they're riding on an airplane or maybe sitting in a bar and you've heard it. They ended up, the words just started flowing, the lyrics started coming out, they wrote on the back of a napkin. Have you heard those stories before? I bet you have. People struggle to write that big hit song, and they struggle, they rack their brain, and then all of a sudden, from nowhere, when they least expect it, it just flows. Kevin's a writer like I am. I'm sure, Kevin, sometimes you'll go through and you'll struggle to get to that next paragraph or the next chapter. You'll struggle, and then all of a sudden the moment comes from nowhere and the words just flow. Yep. Wherever you are, you've got to get to your laptop and you got to start typing because, you don't even know where those words come from, do you?
I even have a notepad app on my phone in case I might know.
You never know. It just all of a sudden it flows. But see, the whole time you're sending that intention out into the universe. You're sending that thought out that I need these words. I need to know what the next part of our story is. You're constantly sending that energy out. Then all of a sudden, when you least expect it, you're in the middle of a project, you're taking a shower, you're at 3 o'clock in the morning, and all of a sudden, bam, it just flows. And you just write, and that story flows. It's like, and then I don't know how your writing is, but I've looked back at some of my writings and I think, where the hell did that come from? You ever get that feeling?
Yeah, I've gone back and read stuff I published 2 years ago and think, dang, I'm a pretty good writer.
I look at mine sometimes like, dang, that person that wrote that knew what they were doing. That's the power of what energy is. I remind people, I was a nerdish little kid, and I was into radios, electronics. This is back before when we were just going from tubes to transistors and whatnot. And I even took courses at Calhoun Technical School just outside of Decatur. I'd go to high school and then go there too. But the bottom line is I was fascinated with this stuff, and I learned how to build what is called a crystal radio. Did you know that you can take a coil this is thread, not wire, but that imagine that's copper wire around there, and you can take nothing but a diode and a couple of other things there, and some headphones, and without applying any power whatsoever, no battery, no AC power, and you can receive radio stations and hear radio stations on this device called a crystal radio that you built that has no power connected to it. How is that possible? Because the energy is out there in the atmosphere. Most people have heard of Nikola Tesla. Tesla created a Tesla coil. You can take a Tesla coil, and most of us have heard of Tesla coils, I assume, and you can hold a burned out fluorescent light next to that Tesla coil, and it illuminates it. You can hold light bulbs next to that Tesla coil. Don't connect it, just hold it near that coil, and it illuminates it. Tesla was onto something. He wanted to be able to share electric current without wires, and he had succeeded in a certain level. Just like the radio waves that are received on a crystal radio, it's energy. The whole thing we're talking about in life is energy. So when we're talking about, well, let's say this, billions of people believe in prayer. I'm sure that Kevin is one of those. And they believe that prayer works. Don't you, Kevin? You honestly, sincerely believe that if you pray, that prayer goes out into the universe, reaches your God, and has a profound effect.
Yes,
you may not get the answer you want always, but you feel like you do get something in return, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. This is the same concept, because you're sending. You don't even have to voice your prayer. You can just think the words. Is that true?
Oh, yeah, that's prayer. Yeah.
So when you pray, you don't have to sit there and say, "Dear God, please, blah, 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 blah." You can just silently think the words.
Mm-hmm.
And so vocalizing it didn't make any difference, because you get the same effect. Just you could say that's telepathically, if you will, sending it out to your God. You're not having to vocalize it. The bottom line is it's all about energy. I think that we could all agree that when we talk about God, we're talking about energy. Okay? Jesus was said to be the light of the world. Well, what does it take to be light? You've got to have energy. It's all about energy. So that's what radionics comes down to. You're harnessing this energy, you're putting your intent into it, and you're expecting results. So that is the best way to describe. I like to call it the law of attraction on steroids. When I developed this concept, I'd heard about what was called a wishing machine. I never built one. I'd never studied it that deeply, but I designed my own with my own special ingredients, given my background, not only my background in electronics, but also my background in theology and spirituality, and combine these things. In my book, you'll learn about the orgone pyramid. Now, I use a couple of different ones when I build out some of my machines. I have a very inexpensive model that is a toned down model. It's very basic. And then I have other models. You talk about Nikola Tesla. This has something to do with Tesla right here. Ooh. Fascinating, very fascinating. And I will share just a little bit with that, because I have only spoken and I've covered a lot of territory in just less than 20 minutes. So these are called positive energy plates. And I use these in some of my wishing machines. Now, these are not inexpensive at all. They jack up the price of my wishing machine somewhat. So the atoms and electrons in this aluminum have been altered so that these purple plates are in resonance, or in tune, if you will, with the basic energy of the universe, creating a field of energy around themselves that will penetrate any material substance by osmosis. The energy is very beneficial, It's a life force energy. I noticed that even though I've been using these and promoting these purple plates for some time, that one of another person that deals with similar things has just now caught up with me on these. So that is the very simple basis. Catherine had one of the wishing machines in her hand there. I'm going to drop Kevin out for a minute so she's got more space. You'll see there's knobs on it. You'll see the purple plate, and you'll see on the side there. Okay. Now this machine, which is not completed, it'll be completed tomorrow. Um,
I've got all my parts inside of it, so I
there
don't
you go.
misplace
So
them.
the inside of it is built in a special way as well. There's 5 knobs on it. There's the purple plate, which is called a stick plate. There's the input side, which is to the left on your screen, and the purple plate is the output plate. I'm not going to go into great detail how you use this, but you put your intention on that copper field right there, and there is a coil of wire underneath that. You'll also see there's 2 jacks down at the bottom below those knobs. The one under the copper plate is the input jack. The one on the other side is the output plate. There's a reason for those. This machine will have 2 or 3 additions, and we call this the Trinity Machine. The Trinity Machine is a combination of all the components. It is the most beefed up version of radionics, psionics that you could possibly ever find in the world today. I put forth a lot of effort on this to design this, and I guarantee you'll find nothing else like this anywhere. So again, in my life, we talked about good vibes, good vibrations. So when we talk about vibrations, you have to ask yourself, what vibration do you have? And then to answer that, it would be conditioned by a second question: what vibration do you have in relation to what? Many people are lucky in terms of love and relationships, but they are a disaster economy. Others have iron health, but do not relate well to their peers. They're those who enjoy privileged intelligence, but are always having labor difficulties. This is seen from a perspective, or the opposite. We say that most people enjoy harmony in certain areas of their lives while suffering dysfunction in other areas of their existence. In radionics, it's said that we may be subject to balanced or unbalanced vibrations in relation to anything that we could possibly imagine. We may be unbalanced in health in general, or concretely in some particular organ. The imbalance produces disease, and balance produces health. We may have disharmony in relation to our state of mind or our behavior, also in relation to a negative economic situation, or in relation to the relationships of couples or the communication with others. Radionics establishes ratios or alphanumeric codes that represent positive states for just about anything, because it's all, again, energy, be it material or immaterial. So when I touched briefly to follow this train of thought, when I touched briefly about the songwriter that was trying to put out, let me go a step further with that. Have you ever walked into a room, like at a party, or just a room full of a handful of people, and you may know a couple of people, but there may be some people you don't know, and immediately, without knowing anything about most of these people, you get a negative feeling? Have you ever had that happen? Have you ever met somebody and it's like they're not doing anything ugly, they're not saying anything ugly, they're not giving you any reason, but immediately when you're in their presence, It don't feel right. Have you ever had that happen? I bet you everybody's had that happen at some point in time or the other. See, we're all giving out this, what some people call aura, or this energy. So this energy you come in contact with, you're feeling it, and that energy just don't feel right, and your response to it is like, I need to get the hell out of here. I don't know why. I can't explain why. You've met somebody. I know in your life at some time or the other, you come in contact with somebody and you walk away. Well, let's say your sister met a guy and she said, oh, I want you to meet this good looking guy. He's got a good job and I really want to marry this guy. I'm dating him. I want you to meet him, sis. So you meet him finally and you get this feeling. You don't know what it is, but something is just not right. You're feeling that energy off of this person that, gee, that's just not right. So when you get private time with your sister, you say, look, something's wrong. Get away from this cat. I feel something's wrong. She don't know what's wrong. You don't know what's wrong, but that energy has sent you a message. You got a warning from that energy. That is a non-physical way that we share this energy, just like the songwriter and the author, like Kevin, goes through this entire process of, I got to finish this book. I got writing to do, and I've got this mental block, and I can't get anywhere. And I'm sitting out my thoughts are all about, I need words, I need a thought, I need. And it's like, huh. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, when you're not even thinking about it, oh, it enters, it's there. The words start flowing, and you write that hit song. In 2 minutes, you wrote a song that you've been racking your brain to try to come up with an idea for 3 weeks, and nothing happened. It's energy. That's a non-physical way of dealing with what we're talking about with energy and getting your intention, the wishing machine. Now, the way the wishing machine works, which people, there's one guy that bought a wishing machine from me, and he's like me, he's bald-headed. And he thought that he was going to get this wishing machine, and all of a sudden he'd put on there, I want a head full of hair, and he's going to wake up the next day with a head full of hair. The wishing machine doesn't work that way. First of all, the wishing machine is not going to violate the laws of nature. Second of all, this is the way the wishing machine works most of the time. So what's one thing that we all need is money, right? So you set up your wishing machine, and you letting the wishing machine know in the input plate, I need money. So you put that there, and then you put something there that represents you, and you go through the process of getting the machine set, and then you walk away from it. You're not going to walk up to your machine the next day and find that your money doubled. No, what's going to happen is you're going to be provided with the method to get what you wanted. So I know somebody that they really need anything, but they wanted to experiment with the wishing machine. They bought one, and it cost them $300. And they're looking at it, they read the manuals and learned how to use it, and they're thinking, what do I want to ask for? And so he thought, well, I spent $300, so I want to get my $300 back. So he set the machine up for that $300. Within 3 days, he gets a phone call. Hey, Bob, there's a group over here that wants you to come and speak to them, and they're offering you $300. That's the way the machine works. It's not some magic potion that you're just going to all of a sudden poof. I had one lady that won the lottery, but guess what? She had to play the lottery. It wasn't like the lottery ticket just landed in her lap because she had a wishing machine. This is the way the wishing machine in radionics works. Kind of like the law of physics. For every action is the equal and opposite reaction. You're putting your intention in, you're letting the wishing machine put that out to the universe, and it's giving you a way to accomplish. You could get, I've got a car problem. I need new tires. My car's falling apart. I need new tires. Well, you're not going to get out there and all of a sudden, whoo, I got new tires on my car. But the opportunity is going to show up to where you're going to find a way to get those tires, but you've got to act on it. The problem is presented, your intention is presented, And the wishing machine, through this universal energy, is going to present you with the door to open to get and fulfill your intention. That's the way it works. So we've got that energy. We talked about you go to a concert. Catherine over there went to a Pink concert, and for days after she went, you could feel the energy that she got off of Pink from this concert. Okay? And it didn't matter whether I liked Pink or not, but the energy was there. She didn't meet Pink. She never got close to Pink. But Pink radiated that energy throughout that entire auditorium. Catherine was a recipient of that energy, and she carried that energy forth from there, and she spread it to everybody she ran into. It didn't last forever, but it lasted long enough to where everybody was, woohoo! It energized everybody she was around. This is the way radionics works. This is the best explanation I can give you, because in reality, it's just like prayer. It's hard to define how does prayer work. But people like Kevin is going to say, it works. Don't question it. It works. If it works, why question it? I'm trying to come up with as many ways as possible to help people to understand. Playful Rain says Pink is absolutely amazing. Catherine will agree with you, by the way. I'm not knocking her. I'm just saying, bottom line is that energy exudes. Just talking about this brought forth, look at the fire. Is it not a big smiling face? But Playful Rain got energized from just that little brief conversation we had there. This is the way radionics works. This is the way the wishing machine works. So, and on top of that, as a practical, how am I getting feedback? Turn your mic off. I also wrote this book on Get What You Want. And you see those two big bags of money, right? The reason I got involved in the wishing machine and building these and designing my own style and version of the wishing machine is because it worked for me. During the pandemic of 2020, things came to a screeching halt. To do events and whatnot, and all of a sudden it's like everything's closed down, not much happening, and I am looking for something to stay busy and generate, of course, income. And I cannot tell you today exactly how this idea came to me, but in July of 2020, the idea came to me, and I put together the components to build a wishing machine. I had one big wedding over in Mississippi that weekend. So I kind of set this stuff out. I kind of had it laid out in my head how I wanted to put this together, but I had not built it. I just had some of the components on my desk. It sat there while I went to do that wedding in Jackson, Mississippi over the weekend. I come back, and before I completed the machine, within just a few days, my world changed 180 degrees to the positive. I needed help. My wife was very ill. I needed help with a caregiver. And all of a sudden, the opportunity came up through this agency, kind of showed up from nowhere. We got help. And the phone started ringing, and I started booking. Things changed. So I put out and built a website about the wishing. It's like, this really works. I want to share this. Before I even built one, they started selling. And that I've shipped them all over the world. And if you go to my website, and let's put that banner down here. There's the website. You can learn more about what I'm talking about there and read the reviews that people have shared. I didn't even ask for the reviews. They just showed up by people that bought these. So there you go, folks. The wishing machine. That is what I'm talking about. And I do have a book called Dating the Dead. You can learn more about that at datingthedead.com. I'm going to give a little video here and then bring Kevin back on. That's really all I want to talk about today, because I'm very excited about the wishing machine. Show him that box again, if you got it there, Catherine. I haven't finished writing my book on radionics, but this one is called a Trinity Machine. It's got, and see, I haven't talked about the Tepaphone, which Actually, Tesla called the Tetraphone a teleforce, and some people call it a death ray. I'll give you a little bit about that, but that machine is going to have a death ray, Tetraphone, teleforce on it. That's one of the components. It's also a vampire machine, and it also is the wishing machine. So it is a full force, beefed up version of everything you possibly. Now, let me start. I mentioned the Tetraphone, teleforce, but let me start with the vampire machine because a lot of people say vampire machine. Oh no! Well, I guess if you're into the kind of stuff we talk about, you've probably heard of a psychic vampire. What does a psychic vampire do? Sucks energy. So
Sucks
you're
all
around
of it.
somebody that you like, you spend time with them, but at the end of just a little bit of time with them, you feel drained. And you say that person drains me of my energy every time. It's a psychic vampire. So this has built into it a vampire machine that you use. You can get energy through this device by putting in and say, well, I want to get energy from a waterfall. You put in a picture of a waterfall into the input tube of this device. Or it could be the sun. Now, for the more nefarious deeds of people out there, they could actually steal energy from an individual, which I don't recommend that, but that's the way that psychic vampires come about. Now, the Tetraphone or teleforce, up above that purple plate up there, will be a light mounted. And let me kind of cover something there on that because the Tetraphone is very fascinating. Our friend Nikola Tesla was very opposed to war. He hated war. And so he's the one that came up with what he called teleforce, also a death ray. So he had built a death ray. Let me get to where I want to share instead of just talking off the top of my head here. I want to read what I've written earlier here on this, and then I'm going to turn this back over to Kevin. Tetraphone, and I'll just skip some of Tesla stuff, but they're all one and the same. Tetraphone is an interesting place in occult lore. It's supposedly the most powerful magical weapon ever created, and that's what makes this a Trinity machine because it's a 3-in-1. It's essentially a magical death ray generator. We're not using it for the purpose of doing bad deeds and sending out a literal death ray. It's a vibrational instrument which could emit vibrations across any distance. It could make a change. Let's say you're in Tennessee, you're in Nashville, and you've got somebody that you want to do something positive for, and I'm going to keep it on the positive side. I don't think anybody really wants to do anything bad, right? You've got somebody out in California that you want to send some positive energy to. Maybe you need some healing energy. Maybe this person is not well, or they may need a job. There may be any number of things that they need your help. So on that machine, you go through the wishing machine part of it, but there is a laser light beam attached to there. It's not attached to that one yet. And there's different colors of light. It serves as a wireless transmitter of energy. Any kind of thought can be transmitted by the Tetraphone as well. A device is possible to cause and create and change physical properties that may be dealing with in your physical makeup. I'm not going to say it cures. I have to be careful with that. that could get you in trouble. It's described as a framework of holding multiple optic lenses. This is a more modern version of this light. It has a remote control. You can use different colors of lights. And so it sends out the emotions, the energy, You direct that light into the direction. If they're in California and you're in Alabama, you're going to aim it toward the west. If they're in New York, you're going to aim it to the northeast, and so forth. And you will let the machine do its work. So the Tepaphone, the Vampire Machine, the Wishing Machine, all these items were dealing with energy, and the reviews and the things that have come about from this has been amazing. I'll be talking about this more this weekend, and I'll have some of my machines on display there, and I'm very excited about that. In the meantime, you can go to thewishdr.com. It's scrolling at the bottom of the page here. I'm going to bring the Hat Man back.
The Hat Man.
Back, but let me play this little video before we go on, and we're going to have about roughly 20 minutes or so there. And so one little plug video, and then we're going to go back to Kevin Abel's brother Kane.
So what is your wish? Do you have a wish? I am the wish doctor. We can make your wishes come true.
All right. So Paper Rain says, yes, pink is very amazing. At the very least, folks, if you want to learn how to get what you want in life, I highly suggest this little book that I just happen to be the author of. It's very inexpensive. You can get on Amazon, or you can order it. If you want a copy, get a hold of me, and I'll make arrangements to send you an autographed copy. You can Venmo me a small fee I get for these books and a little postage to send it to you. Well worth it. This little manual on getting what you want. It's good on its own, and it's a good companion to the wishing machines. So there is my plug for the night, even though I gave him an entire hour.
Listen to
it. Oh, I didn't talk about one device on the Trinity Machine, and that is the Tesla Coil. The Tesla Coil, which I did refer to, but it's used on the wishing machine of the Trinity Machine as an amplification method on an input plate to help to send out in a more powerful way, an amplifier, if you will, your intention out to the universe. Again, I call it the law of attraction on steroids. And it works. That's all I say. Happy Hanukkah.
All right. I'm going to share a few more of these here creepy haunted doll stories. In case there's any of those creepy haunted doll folks still tuning in out there.
Tune it.
This next one that I had a couple of them up here, so we got just enough time. There's one from Australia, down under.
Australia.
And I like Australia. I like her name is Letta. Let me get her picture up here. There she is. I like the funny name they gave her. Letta me out.
Letta you out. That's creepy looking dolls.
Yeah. So let's hear her story right quick. Letta Me Out is well known amongst the paranormal community as being one of the most haunted dolls in the world. The doll, which currently resides in Australia, is surrounded by quite a bit of mystery. While the doll sports exaggerated facial features, giving it a wicked look that is off-putting to many, this haunted doll may not be as bad as its evil appearance suggests. Letta's story can be traced to the small town of Wagga Wagga in rural New South Wales, Australia. It was here during the 1970s that a young man by the name of Kerry Walton decided to explore an abandoned house with his brother. The two men had always been inquisitive over the property, having heard countless stories of it being a haunted house as kids. It was within this house that Kerry was to make a shocking discovery. Underneath the floors of the decaying property, he spotted something sinister, which at first glance looked to be the body of a dead child. Upon closer inspection, Kerry had discovered a strange doll with a wicked grin. Kerry felt compelled to rescue the doll from beneath the house. It was on the long drive home to Brisbane that these brothers were to dub the doll Letta Me Out, after making jokes that the doll appeared to be moving within the sack he was being transported inside of. Kerry's family were understandably apprehensive towards the doll when he was first brought home, yet it was the strange activity to follow that really had them unsettled. It is said that the Letta Me Out doll would move around on its own accord, with strange scuff marks apparently left from the doll's shoes were found around the house each morning. In addition, some people had an aversion to the doll's presence, feeling sick, faint, or overcome by emotion when the doll was around. Animals, namely dogs, would act strange around the doll too, trying to bite and attack it. Because so many strange occurrences had happened surrounding the Letta Me Out doll, his new owners became curious as to what they could learn about the mysterious children's toy. To their surprise, experts were able to date the doll at around 200 years old by analyzing some nails held under the doll's feet. It was also speculated that the doll had been handcrafted somewhere in Eastern Europe, likely in Romania, judging by the doll's gypsy-like appearance. Interestingly, the doll even has a full head of human hair. In addition, the doll was taken to a psychic for analysis. The psychic came up with some compelling information, which has been reiterated by other psychics throughout the years. It is said that the doll is actually inhabited by the spirit of a young boy who died a long time ago from drowning. It is speculated that the doll may have been created in this boy's likeness. Kerry was even allegedly told that he would never be separated from the doll. This was put to the test when the opportunity to sell Letta Me Out arose, yet Kerry just could not bring himself to part with the doll. Today, Letta Me Out has become an integral part of Kerry's family. Though this haunted doll appears to look a little creepy, its sad backstory means that the doll may just be inhabited by an innocent child's spirit. The doll is believed to be good-natured and to even bring luck to those who come into contact with it, which is one reason a lot of people would love to meet the doll. Kerry tours and does occasional public appearances with Letta, where fans of the doll are able to meet and have their photo taken with one of the world's most haunted dolls. The best way to keep up to date with the doll's activities and appearances are via Letta's Facebook page. Oh, I'm going to have to join that. An added bonus of following Letta Me Out on social media is that all posts are written by the doll in first person. So that's cool. I've seen that picture of that doll around a lot. I just didn't really know what the story was there. But next I'm going to tell you. Huh?
Did you let me out?
Let me out. Let me out. Let me out.
Oh, Piper Rain is giving us a lot of communique here.
What did she say?
She likes pink.
Yeah.
She's smiling at something. So
that was something back when you were talking. I can't remember now what it was.
Okay.
It was
all right.
Something you said, probably making fun of me.
Make fun. So I assume you got another story that you want to
Yeah.
share. Okay.
Of
I don't want to
course.
intrude upon your precious time.
This one I've seen around several times, not in person, but I've seen her picture floating. And that is Mandy, the haunted doll. Let's see. Or not. Wait. Before I tell her, I've already got Ruby's story. This is another one that I've seen around too. Let's tell Ruby's first because I have her story up already. Ruby the doll is both sweet and creepy. Does she represent a phenomenon still somewhat unknown and misunderstood concerning planes of existence and consciousness? Or is she merely the transmutation of her former owner, a little girl reaching out from beyond time and space to be touched and loved? Who knows? So here's the story of Ruby. There's always something a bit unsettling and mysterious about occurrences and things that are not in our realm of comprehension. There's always that gray zone surrounding the world of the paranormal and planes of existence that may or may not exist. Every now and then, something weird rears its very strange head and makes us wonder. Ruby was a family heirloom with an uncomfortable history. The Traveling Museum of the Paranormal and Occult offers a one-of-a-kind experience for lovers of the occult and strange phenomena. Created in 2014 by Greg Newkirk and Dana Matthews, the museum transports weird objects of all kinds to haunted locations across America. Since its inception, Ruby the doll has been a beloved part of its collection of strange and eerie artifacts. Ruby came to the museum from a friend of curator Dana Matthews, whose family had hidden her away, the doll, away in a dusty attic stuffed into a cardboard box with other items. She had been a treasured heirloom for more than a few generations, but over the years the family became convinced that Ruby was a bit more than just a doll. According to the family that owned the doll, it possessed some unsettling characteristics. For one thing, it seemed to be able to move around a room by itself, and it was also known to emit eerie, unearthly sounds. Oddly, too, some family members believed that Ruby possessed the unique ability to make anyone in her immediate proximity fall suddenly ill with headaches, allergies, exhaustion, and most often extreme nausea. Ruby had belonged to a little girl in the donor's family who, according to legend, died while holding Ruby in her arms. The constant feeling that the spirit of their long-dead relative was still attached to her favorite doll plagued members of the family. The family called in a psychic medium to help the spirit pass on, but this effort failed, and after passing the doll from family house to house, they finally decided to give the doll to the museum. At first, nothing happened, and the doll sat quietly on a display shelf. Shortly after her arrival, the curators began to notice that visitors to the museum would be drawn to hold the doll and rock her back and forth. While they never became ill, many found themselves overwhelmed with maternal feelings. So, again, is she merely the transmutation of her former owner, a little girl reaching out from beyond time and space to be touched and loved? Who knows, but perhaps she truly is. And I would wager a guess that she is. And now, the one I was about to talk about, and I threw her picture up there, Mandy, the haunted doll. That's another little lovely there. I got to pull her story back up here. Don't you love when your computer messes up on you? Okay, Mandy, here's her story. In a world where the paranormal exists, there are a ton of haunted dolls and figures other than the one made famous in the 2014 horror movie Annabelle. Some of them aren't as malicious and sinister, but they're still creepy nonetheless. Meet Mandy the Haunted Doll, who is currently on display in the Quesnel and District Museum in Canada. Mandy, a doll created sometime between 1900 and 1920, was given to the museum by a donor who wished to remain anonymous. The donor had a chilling experience with the doll and wished to get rid of it without destroying whatever historic quality it possessed. One night, the donor was awoken by extremely loud cries, the cries of a baby that were echoing and radiating from the basement where the doll had been kept. Only one problem: a baby was not present in the house at this time of night. After hours of listening to the shrieks, the donor finally mustered up the courage to sneak into the basement and examine the source of the cries. Upon arrival, they found nothing but an open window, and Mandy was missing, only to return the next morning. After dropping Mandy the Haunted Doll off at the museum, the donor confirmed that an experience like that never occurred again. However, the arrival of Mandy at the Quesnel and District Museum started a new wave of distress and discomfort for the staff and visitors there. Almost immediately after being placed in front of the front door, staff members started reporting that their lunches were going missing, only to show up neatly tucked in a random drawer hours later. Books and stationery started going missing on a routine basis, too. Eventually, Mandy had to be moved to a more private display, one away from other dolls of her kind, because it's rumored that she would topple them over in the middle of the night due to some sort of jealousy. Mandy the Haunted Doll was heavily featured in a 1999 issue of Supernatural Stories around British Columbia, and that's when people started flocking to the museum to see the haunted doll for themselves. People who visited the decades-old toy had trouble getting pictures of Mandy because their batteries would die or the flash of their cameras would inexplicably turn on and off while trying to take photos. Psychic investigators who have visited Mandy state that the doll is most likely possessed by the spirit of a young little girl who only wants attention from people around her. That's why the doll is only mischievous and never violent towards humans. I would love to meet this doll, Mandy the Haunted Doll. And if you want to meet some of my dolls, I'm going to have them at the convention this weekend along. I'll go ahead and bring you
BJCC, downtown Birmingham.
Yes.
And Kevin and Catherine will be with us there Saturday.
Yes.
Kevin and I will be there all day Sunday. We will have books. He will have dolls for display.
Yep.
And I may have, I'm going to bring a doll or two, but who knows? I might sell a doll. And I'm talking about very interesting dolls. I'm not talking about the same regular old plain old dolls by any stretch of the imagination. So anyway, you want to show up, we do have our books, and we're going to have some things on display. And the best part of it is, folks, you get to meet us. What more can you ask? You get to meet us. And so that would be fun because we are fun people. Well, at least I am. Kevin is sometimes.
Hey, I think I'm not exactly boring.
I didn't say you were boring. I just Catherine is back with us. We're about to say good night. Thank you for joining us. I don't know what our subject is going to be from now, but I'm sure we'll come up with something very interesting.
Yes.
We could talk about, I know a subject we never have covered, Kevin.
What's that?
Horror stories about war. Soldiers that had these interesting stories about paranormal things that happened during war. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I've seen some of those. Everything from ghosts to creepy creatures in caves that they've come across in Afghanistan, I believe. Ooh.
We did a hunt over in what's the name of that place? Coleman.
Coleman.
Oh,
Yes.
Civil War. Yeah.
Yes. And I was walking into the building and the house that we were staying in, and I turned around and walked out, and it's like there's somebody in there.
Well, in their museum part, they had uniforms that were used. It wasn't duplicate uniforms. They had, of course, ammunition. They had a lot of different things that were found in the area that were genuine artifacts from the Civil War, not
Yeah.
gaffs and replicas, but real deals. And there were some interesting things. Even flew my drone over that area as well. Shadowy figures. The guy that ran the place, he actually owns it. Let us spend the night in the museum park, and we did not do any spirit box sessions, but very interesting. Don't forget, folks, you don't have to come to the BJCC tomorrow. I mean, this weekend. You can get your books from us by contacting us via YouTube, via Facebook, via our websites, whatever. And we'll be glad to make sure you get the book. Our books are on sale at Books A Million website, and also on Amazon.com and a lot of different places. So it's easy to find. You just Google our names and books and blah, blah, blah.
Kendall.
Kindle, he's got audio books and Kindle books as well. So he's got some good reads. I'll vouch for that. I've read 2 or 3 pages. And I'm looking forward to spending the weekend with Kevin down there. So we'll do some live streaming there, and we're going to have some fun there. So look forward to it.
Yeah, hope so.
Are y'all ready to say good night?
I guess
Good
so.
night, everyone.
Good night, Bruce.
See you in June. See you guys in June. I'm not going to talk to you anymore in May. Okay?
Yeah.
June is when I'll see you next.
Yep.